Very, very good. Really well prepared. So much detail. It's a satisfying performance, actually. So you're making my job a little more challenging now. I liked so much of what you did. So when we talk about this piece, talk about Mendelssohn, it's a very good example. So we can just talk briefly about the work. Is there some kind of idea you have about the style of Mendelssohn? Because it's one of those areas, you know, stylistically, that falls sort of between two periods, right? Romantic, classical. Do you have sort of an idea, any other thoughts other than what I just said about this piece?
I feel like it's really colorful and...
Do you want to just turn out?
I feel like it's really like colorful and it has like in my head I can picture many different colors. And it sounds really playful as well, like the presto bit, it sounds like fairies for me. So yeah, I need that to help me play.
Good. It's so interesting you said fairies, because of course this is very representative of typical Mendelssohn style, right? A scherzo style, and that we always think of Midsummer Night's Dream is the piece we refer to, the orchestral piece, and then that already evokes, as you said, fairies and fantasy and the imagination. And I think you did a lot of that. I think the touch is quite good, so it's very, very light and fleeting. We can talk about maybe how to make it sparkle just a little bit more, and perhaps how to make some more contrast, because while it's light and whimsical, there's also some sort of fantasy element. So sometimes the music ventures into the unknown in sometimes darker areas. You know, when that one melody comes in towards the end, do you know what I'm talking about? Can you play this for us here? Suddenly we have a key change. But it doesn't last long, right? So that one moment, it almost sounds like from another world, you know, not part of this fantasy world, but there's always something lurking, you know, behind all of the whimsy and playfulness. So very good example. Other scherzos style it reminds me of is a piano trio, D minor piano trio, the scherzo movement. So that could be another good project for you after this. It's very, very similar in touch. And what about the first part of this? Some people refer to as maybe introduction, but it's very brief. But what do we make of the Andante section?
I think like it's really like dreamy and like cloudy in a way, and it prepares for
presto bit. I like that. I mean, technically you're doing very well, so we won't spend so much time on that. Yeah, the first part, I mean, what else did Mendelssohn write for piano that most of us have to play? Songs without words, right. And what was the purpose of that? Because there are elements of that here. This almost sounds like another song without words. But what was his philosophy? Why would he write a piece called Songs Without Words?
Because it allows you to imagine something without the description. That's what I think. And letting all those colors and expressive parts to help guide you to what you think.
Very good. There's something very simple in a way. I mean, one of my favorite quotes of his, which I'll share, is that music expresses that which words cannot. And so, philosophically speaking, we don't need words to express those feelings, because sometimes we have feelings which exist for which there are no words. And only music, in music, can we find those feelings and be able to communicate them. It's a beautiful thought. So, I would just like to discuss perhaps the narrative of this. Maybe you could be a little bit more, I mean, the details are excellent. There's so many details you're doing, but I wonder, what's the basic feeling here? What's the basic story here? Because the melody is quite simple, but it's trying to express maybe something, right? That's where I wanted to ask you. Do you have something in mind or in your heart that you're wanting to share as you play this? And the vocalist comes in, It is pure. If I play this, as simple as those three falling notes are, which just outline a triad, right? In this position, it's this chord, but it's in this position. Is it something that's maybe in a good mood or slightly not in a good mood? Is it music that's existing in the present, that you're in the moment now? Or is it something that you're recalling from the past? You know, so I don't want to make it too complicated, but really, when I'm playing this, I'm trying to create a memory. So the way you played was a little bit distant, I thought, the very first entrance. But if I'm trying to exist in the present, in now, I might try differently. Right? Do you hear the difference? Can you just try from the beginning again? And you were a very good accompanist. So we don't need to spend too much time on the very first 4 bars, but let's just start again. That's lovely. 2 things. were you thinking more in the moment, like in the present? Because when you play the introduction at your tempo, right, it sounds a little bit sad to me, like something that you're in this tempo. And there's certainly nothing wrong with that. Just make sure that you maintain a beat of 4, and we don't hear 8 beats per bar. So you could consider can it flow and then still keep your mood? Okay, how does that feel? Yeah, and then we have one idea. And the other thing that helps, besides just feeling it in larger beats, is really what's leading that phrase. As beautiful as those harmonies are, I think what you did was you used the left hand. So do it one more time and feel it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, every fourth beat, right? It's something moving to the next bar, but something that carries us from one place to the next. So passing through those. Yeah, okay. So I'm giving you some options, that's all. Now, let's discuss the direction of this melody. If you want to linger and fall, that has a certain kind of trajectory and a certain kind of atmosphere and a certain kind of feeling, right? So I would breathe. So breathe. If it starts high and it falls, that's one thing. So you're putting emphasis. The very first moment is the one that's heartbreaking. Or you can use the first 2 notes as a pickup to, that's another option. Dot, and I would like to try that version, right? Which is, to me, a little bit more on the classical side. So as I said, he's kind of 1 foot here in Romanticism, 1 foot here in Classicism. So this version to me would be a little bit more classically oriented. Go towards that. What happens if we flow towards those moments? Yes. So it's a little more simple, and then when the rubato is sort of built into the music, it's more natural in a way. Okay. And then the second time you play, something different, right? Let's go on. From the second phrase. Different. Get to here. Then pass through this like an improvisation to here. Yes, okay. Does that make sense? Because everything is actually beautiful here. One could choose any moment to be a special moment. But I'd like you to, when you're playing this and preparing the phrase, try to vary it each time, so it's not predictable, even for you. So whether you do this and it falls, or you do this, it's right? Or you do something maybe just a little bit more secretive, right? Intimate. That's all. So think about that. Okay, now let's go on. Now we have something. It's completely different, right? How would you describe this part of the story?
Agitated.
Agitated. So how do we make that sound agitated? Can you show us? Okay. So there's a little bit of pushing and pulling. So that's right. What if you did the same thing, but you felt the breaths? So instead of these being just rest, you feel a little bit so feel the spacing between the short ideas. Okay. And I don't mind the but let's eliminate too much of the longing on those. So we're still treating the whole thing as a pickup to the forte. So passing keep going. Yeah, you see. So what I'm suggesting is to feel this a little bit bigger pulse. And within that, to pass through some things. A little bit more simple, in a way, even when it's agitated. Okay? So that's, in general, the only thing I felt. I was wondering, how do you still keep your musical personality and all your detailed thoughts, but show structurally a little bit more the classical side of this, right? Does that make sense? So this is a balance in this section that I think you can think about. So let's keep going. Can this be very steady? Sometimes I think, since you've practiced so well and you know, your hands know exactly what to do and your ear is tracking everything, I think there comes a point where you can experiment by trying to do less and see if it actually becomes more. So now I hear a lot of things, a lot of good things. But I think all of that could add up to more if you try not to show so many things. So you can do that by the same process, just kind of keep going and going and going. So sometimes you're doing these rubatos, like at the end of that section, you slow down tremendously. But I wonder what happens if you just play the music and imagine the music is already written so well and so expressively that it will speak for itself. Because I think you will never play on musically, you're very musical. So let's keep the piece flowing a little bit better, andante, right? Even here. And still the same tempo. Like a swaying of the bell. So you have the same. And then misterioso, something. There's that little element of darkness that's foreshadowed, right? So, could this be spookier? Okay, so let me ask you, is it spookier when you know exactly what you're looking at, or is it spookier when you're not quite sure what you just saw? How is that reflected in the sound of this? Yeah. So it's as if whatever this represents makes an appearance for disappears. But very quietly. Now to me it sounds quite beautiful and gentle, almost like. I think the key is from here. So just a little bit of more of a disappearing act, not as lulling, but a little threatening. Suddenly off. Oh, I also, yes, sorry to stop. Can you completely cut the pedal here? So none of the beautiful warmth, that comforting, harmonic blanket suddenly is gone. And it's kind of cold and it's frightening. So just cut the pedal there. Back with pedal, dry. Yes. Flow. Little detail, that's getting better. In this passage here, right at the end, it's legato, but here, there's dots. And I think the touch is different. So it's not completely legatissimo. So it slows the hand down, right? So it allows the retardando to happen naturally. But see, it's already like the fairies are sprinkling fairy dust, right? It's already a little sparkling up there, okay? And you don't need to keep the hands down. The suspension, another way to say what I'm thinking is, you're a magician basically, right? This is kind of a wizardly whimsical piece. Your job is to suspend our sense of disbelief. Right? That's what magicians do. They're really masterful. It's like, I can't believe this is happening. And they suspend that. Or to suspend, and one way we can do that is just simply this. But if you're here, it's not quite as magic. So you're painting some kind of fairy tale, right? And then just keep the hands up. And yeah. Good. Yeah. This is very good. Play a little bit of this. Keep going. Very good. Can you describe the character or characters that are dancing here? It's kind of a little dense, but do you imagine one person or creatures? Many. What are their personalities and what's happening?
Ticklish, you know?
Uh-huh.
It's like, you know, popping out of nowhere, like tiptoes.
Uh-huh. So things kind of just appearing out of the air, right? Just magically. So the analogy is there, right? This magical scene. So sometimes when these whatever sounds appear, they represent maybe certain fairies just igniting like sparks, like fireflies. I think your little accents could therefore be brighter when you want them to be, when you want things to be in the foreground, not the background. Also, you said ticklish, so I wonder if there's any humor in this. You know, there's maybe some teasing, some playfulness. Where in this music that you just played could there be laughter? Where is it written? Musical laughter. Can you find it? That's right. Ha 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 ha. It's quite gleeful, right? So can you do that again and actually feel that, like that's happening? Because the hands are working beautifully. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just, it could be even better if you can do what you're doing, but then have this image and these sounds in your ears that are not just notes. So what made it sound more like laughter?
It's shorter, and it's going downwards.
Uh-huh.
Like ha ha ha.
Yeah, so when you say ha, it sort of pops out. And usually, right, when we have these kind of things, there's usually an outburst and a decrescendo. So if I have to break it down, that's what we're hearing. Okay, one more time. Right there, yeah. Yep, up, 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 up. So that will become easier if you stay pianissimo. So it's pianissimo, it's leggero, so very soft, very light. I think that was perhaps more than you needed to do with the accents. And can the little shapes that you're doing be within pianissimo? So, you know, you don't want to break the mood in the atmosphere and the color by suddenly becoming, you know, getting outside of the bubble of pianissimo. Because when you want to burst out in laughter, then it's piano, right? Then you can sort of elevate the sound and break the bubble. This little. Now, let's do it slowly once, because I think there are opportunities for reacting to harmonic language that are being passed through a little bit. So do it very slowly. And can it in pianissimo? Okay, good. What happens at the end of that? Is it a resolution? Yeah. And come. Now different color. Okay. So we take a look at this sequence here. Can you start here? Very slowly. Falling. Now different harmonic color. So if one is sort of a rocket up and down, does this one have to be the same shape, or could it be a different shape? Yeah, let's try. I have a challenge for you. Let me hear all of these chords that exist in the sequence, and never the same way twice. It could be 2 times or never 3 times the same. It could be twice the same, but not 3 times the same. Okay. And do it differently now. That was my favorite. Was that fun? Yeah, so the other thing that I wanted to mention is that there is an element of surprise constantly. It's the imagination. It's music of a person who is always creating something at the moment, spontaneously, right? So you're never able to predict what they're going to do. He paints this door. It's like there's a door. There's a harmonic door. When this key, you walk through the door, now in a different place. And I think when I was a kid, I read this story, Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. Is that still a book? You open the door and you go into this world, and then, imagine you open another door and it's a different world. So it's not a completely different world, but it maybe can be more defined. So this is the last time I'll go over this. Can you start from the beginning and then just create more variety here? Your imagination, just have it firing off. Yep. That's it. Go. Good. Yeah. Yeah. So with music that's quiet and whimsical like this, it's very satisfying because the audience is forced to come to you rather than you projecting the music and overwhelming them, right? It's like one of those snow globes, that has a complete world inside of it. And if you zoomed in, you'd see incredible detail, right? But it's small. It's a miniature. Very good. Okay, let's keep going. So maybe, it's very contrapuntal, right? Because as you know, Mendelssohn was a Bach scholar and did all kinds of things to bring the popularity of Bach's music back. And wrote very contrapuntally. So, what if you secretly let the left hand lead this time? Okay. That's not a secret, but it's secretly. Yes. And how about this rhythm? Instead of you did that already. Just very gently. There are different ways to bring a note out. I'm assuming you're playing this because you want to bring it out. Is that right? So I hear you doing this. Yeah, certainly you could play it louder with little accent. What's another way you could bring a note out? Let me hear it. I like that way. That was good. What's another way you can do it? Can you do it with just length of note? Yes. Can you try to do it that way? Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's just a matter of consistency. But did you hear it? It almost becomes like a hidden melody. It's more melodic than it is sprightly. So I guess this session is more about what one can do in a rondo. You know, I'm not saying you have to be like conscientiously and purposely changing every single variation, every single time it repeats, but very subtly, right? When you pick and choose where you want to add these variations, I think it's really wonderful because it brings your performance to another place, and you can do it. So that's great. Okay, now we have very little time, but before we go, I wanted to talk about this. Okay, what's written here?
Con anima.
And it means? Okay, so very often that's what the answer I get, con anima. It actually is a little bit different. It's with soul. Like think about animation. You make the drawing, the sketch come to life. You give it a soul. So it's not so much played with more speed or anything, but with more soul. Okay. I liked very much the first statement. Can you try not to do the same rubato the second time? So if you use the rubato the first time, let's say that's the quote-unquote romantic gesture, then can we keep it simple? Pass through. That's it. Yeah. So you got it right away, right? With soul, something from within. And I know we have to go, but just one sort of practical suggestion. When you have these big octaves, I would not necessarily pedal them so thickly, right here, but hear the melody within the broken octave. And the melody exists there, if you can. So less pedal. Yeah, so good. So especially here. I think the rhythm is just as exciting as everything else. So it's nice to hear these pistons going off. So just try it. I mean, almost no pedal actually at the very beginning. Okay. So as you go up the keyboard, of course, play longer, right? And then okay. And now in tempo, but feel that.